Hey guys, EzraTime here. Welcome back to another review, and today we're going to do a FNAF 2 spoiler review, and I will also talk about my prediction or ideas for FNAF 3 the movie, which you kind of know is coming, if this movie was successful at the box office, which I think it will be. And I want to say thank you for everybody who are watching my reviews for FNAF 2 the movie. I did not expect to get that video to be doing so well and to gain new subscribers anyway, which I really appreciate that. So thank you for the new people who subscribe to my channel, and also like generous enough to watch my review for FNAF 2, because I don't think my review is that good to begin with, because I keep saying like the exact same stuff the entire time, and I keep saying a lot, which is kind of like Scott Cawthon, back in 2018. Anybody remembers that when he did an interview with Daco, and Scott just keeps saying a lot. And now I'm doing a lot. So okay, I'm sorry that if you guys found it to be annoying, but either way, we're gonna be here reviewing the FNAF 2 spoiler review now, and of course, because this is a spoiler review video, then make sure guys, if you guys haven't watched the movie, then do not watch this video, because I will spoil the ending of this movie and also talking about FNAF 3 in a way. So either way, let's get into the first segment of the video, shall we? I want to talk about the third act and the ending of this movie, because in the third act of the movie, it was revealed that there is a security guard named Michael, and it was revealed that this is Michael Afton. Now, I think I have like a much more negative opinion about this. I said mixed before, but I feel like right now, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, okay, like that doesn't make sense. There is some plot holes here, where because it was revealed that Michael Afton is like the twist villain in this movie, played by Freddy Carter, which is kind of funny that they got a guy named Freddy to perform, a villain here. But Freddy Carter does have the face of a villain. Like his smile is so like creepy in a way that I think people already theorized that this might be Michael Afton in a way. So like, well, congratulations, you guys are right that this is Michael Afton. But I did like Freddy Carter's performance as Michael Afton, because he is like crazy and unhinged in a certain way, especially his facial expression. I think it really, really worked. But I think in terms of the storyline, I don't really like that, because it doesn't make sense where because we barely spend time with Michael Afton, and Vanessa also never mentioned Michael before, and then it was revealed that she's lying to Mike again. So I don't know what happened with Michael Afton this entire time, because he was never mentioned in the first movie. So like, what is he doing this entire time? Like it doesn't make any sense, and I think his motivation also is also kind of weak in my opinion, because again, his main motivation is actually to continue his father's legacy. This whole thing is about like, oh, like the daughters or like the sons like continuing his father's legacy and stuff like that. And I think I understand what Scott Cawthon is trying to do here, where you have two characters like Vanessa, and then you have Michael Afton, and then as you can see, Michael Afton is much more I guess like he's much more following his dad this time around, where he decided to follow his footsteps. But because we barely spent any time with Michael, I was like, well, I don't really believe that he would just blindly follow his father's footstep, because it kind of makes it seem that William and Michael are like close father and son. But maybe that's not the case, because like again, Michael was never mentioned. So like, what happened there? And because we barely spent time with the characters, I don't really understand his motivation that much, and I think it's kind of weak to be just like, oh, Michael is following William Afton's legacy, while Vanessa is fighting against it. So like that's the purpose, and I get that, but I don't think it's earned in my opinion. I think Vanessa, it was kind of earned, because like you kind of see in this movie, and I guess in the first movie in a way, where she tries to fight against her own father. But for Michael, we barely seen Michael, so it's like I don't get it. Why would you want to continue your father's legacy that much by killing a bunch of kids, which is messed up. And I think in terms of like the Fazfest Festival itself, I think they kind of like hyped that up with the marketing, and I think the Fazfest never played too much like, story wise in the plot. I think it's just there to be like, hey, there's a Fazfest going on, and then we have to stop the bad guy for like committing massacre in that festival, which is kind of disappointing in my opinion, because I thought that Toy Freddy is gonna like maybe wreaking havoc in the Fazfest Festival, and showcasing that, hey, like people who are trying to like celebrating or like monetizing this like terrible act, because like this entire time is about, oh, we need to tell the people that people deserve to know the truth, so Fast basically the movie is trying to paint the Fast as like a bad thing, you know, because like it's trying to monetize a tragic incident, right? But the movie never really gives like any consequences to Fast, and it just kind of happens in the background. So I'm like, that's also disappointing in my opinion. And also the beginning of the movie, you know, I like the beginning. I think it's a cool opening, but there is a jarring issue there, you know, where I feel like there is a bit of a plot hole there that I think it was just you need to suspend your disbelief a bit, you know, because like, Charlotte is trying to save this one kid from William Afton, right? And then she managed to save the kid, you know, but she dies because she's getting stabbed 3 times in the back. You know, you can clearly tell there was a stab wound by a kitchen knife, right? And for some reason, the police and the investigator decided to do like I don't remember what they say in the newspaper, but I feel Freddy was close, and I think the kiss was blamed for her death or something like that. You know that, and it was just so confusing for me because now I'm thinking back into it. I was like, well, Charlotte was actually stabbed 3 times in the back, so I don't know why the police never mentioned. I don't know why the police and the pizzeria decide to just say, hey, there was an accident that's happened off stage, you know, because like the kiss goes off stage and then like that's what and then they accidentally got killed. But that doesn't make any sense to me because like Charlotte's wound was a stab wound by a kitchen knife 3 times. Like surely the police was able to, you know, recognize that, oh, this kid is being stabbed, you know, this kid is being murdered, but for some reason they never came to that conclusion. And it was so weird for in my opinion, you know? And that's I guess the problem with FNAF 2, you know, where I still like the movie, but there's gonna be some plot points where when you're first watching it, you probably don't even think too much about it. But once you know, go home and then you start to rethink about the plot again and try to do like a review like I do, then that's where you kind of realize that, oh wait, some stuff doesn't make any sense, you know. And I think there is some plot holes here and there. In terms of how the way they handle the rest of the storyline, I think they still did a good job with much better job with the pacing. Like I said before, I think they amp up the storyline, but I did see some of the review that already came up right now, and yeah, they're not positive, which I can't really blame you guys, you know, because this is, again, I don't want to create an impression that this movie is a masterpiece, you know, because it's not. There is a problem, and I think the more you think about this movie, the more you probably see the problems in this movie. I'm just like it because I'm having a fun time with this movie. I'm so glad that the toy animatronics actually got more screen time this time around, you know, that they're actually becoming much more active. And Megan Fox's Toy Chica is actually doing a good job, which I did not expect that. And there is some surprises that happens in this movie. We see Circus Baby in this movie, and when Vanessa was in her nightmare, which I did not expect that. You know, I was like, again, I was just like expecting FNAF 1 to FNAF 3 here, where they just like adapt the first 3 games, while maybe referencing like other FNAF games, but I did not expect to see Baby in this movie, which is like, wow. I was genuinely surprised when I see Baby for the first time because I was like, oh my god, are we doing Sister Location now? Are we gonna make a movie about Sister Location? That would be kind of cool, you know. But then again, I think Sister Location does happen before the event of FNAF, you know, so I think that's what they're trying to do here, setting up the fact that, again, this is just a nightmare, you know, so I don't know if this was like simply a vision that Vanessa has, or is this an actual flashback, you know, where Vanessa did happen to see Circus Baby in that house, you know, which is like, that animatronic was supposed to be huge, but wow. I think William just hid that in a closet for some reason, you know. I guess it's a reference to like FNAF 4 and VR have wanted in a way where you have to hide from Baby, right? So I think that's what they're trying to do there. And also like referencing the fact that Vanessa was like Elizabeth Afton, you know, at least from the game. But in this movie, you know, she was named Vanessa. Yeah, that was a nice surprise, you know, and I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to make more FNAF movie in the future. Because so far we know we're gonna get a trilogy, but we don't really know if we're going to get more movies after that, because Scott Cawthon said that there's gonna be only 3 FNAF movies at least. But I imagine if the trilogy was successful and there is a demand for it, and I'm pretty sure that he's gonna be more open to do more FNAF movies, you know, because I'm always welcome. But let's talk about FNAF 3, shall we? And my prediction, you know, because the very ending of this movie, we see Mike and Vanessa relationship becoming more strained because like Mike no longer trusts Vanessa because Vanessa is just keep lying to him. You know, she lies in the first movie and now she lies again for not mentioning Michael Afton, her brother. You know, that was not mentioned at all. So obviously Mike decided to, you know what, I'm not gonna trust you. Stay away from me and Abby. which is like, wow, okay, I that's interesting, to see where this relationship will go in the future. And the last shot in this movie is actually we see Charlotte, the puppet, actually possessing Vanessa. We're speaking of the puppet. Like again, the puppet's power is so cool in this movie, in my opinion. That I think it's kind of creepy, but it's also kind of cool at the same time. Where he was able, that Charlotte or the marionette was able to possess people, and then like you see the puppet's face in on the people's face. Every single time she possessed someone. And there's also some funny scene in my opinion, or like kind of weird scene where the puppet was like hiding inside of Toy Chica, which is like, whoa, I did not see that coming, but also like that's kind of weird. But all right, whatever. I'm over it, because like it's supernatural stuff, shit, whatever. Like he's the puppet, so he's able to maybe like squeeze herself inside that giant animatronic, which he did, and then before they possess Abby, and the final shot is actually her possessing Vanessa, which is interesting, So, and again, I think it's interesting also that Henry decided to give the music box to Mike, which I think that's a nice integration to see the music box being integrated into the movie itself. That makes sense as the story in the movie where the music box was actually working to put Charlotte to sleep. But I think on the third act, you kind of realize that Mike, as he opens the music box, Charlotte went to sleep, right? But he immediately closed the music box. We all know that you should not close the music box. It needs to be kept open so Charlotte can sleep like pretty much forever, I guess, unless the music box was closed. And I think that's why in the end of the movie, we see the puppet possessing Vanessa. And this led to my prediction for FNAF 3, because as we all know in the FNAF 3 minigame, the whole storyline about FNAF 3 is actually, is gonna be a one-to-one fight scene between William Afton, aka Springtrap, this time around. But so there's also another storyline where we have to put rest to the children's soul, right? But in the second movie, that already happened, because like the Golden Freddy kid was actually the one that keeping William Afton at bay, because like using his supernatural power or whatever to just keep everything at bay, But by the time they move away or like move on to heaven, that's where William Afton becomes active once again, and it's gonna become much more powerful. So yeah, that's the storyline about putting the kids to rest is kind of already resolved, which is like, oh, okay. So what are they going to do with FNAF 3? Well, in my opinion, I think we're going to put Charlotte's soul to rest in FNAF 3, because I think that's gonna be one of the main plot points. I am wondering if Charlotte the puppet actually working together with the Afton family, because like it seems like from when Michael is trying to free Charlotte, he wants Charlotte to be free, right? But Charlotte is immediately attacking him. So I don't think they are working together. So even then, again, put another plot point there in the third act of the movie that doesn't make sense, because I don't know if Michael Afton is teaming up with the puppet, because it doesn't seem to be like that, because the puppet is trying to attack him, when she first possessed, McKennagrace's character. So what happened there? That was confusing. So I think in the third movie, I guess there is a chance that William Afton might be controlling the puppet this time around, because like he's coming back and he's gonna be much more stronger. So I think it's gonna be Mike's mission to put not only to kill Springtrap, but also put Charlotte's spirit to rest by finding maybe her favorite item or something like that, maybe a cake, just like in the mini game for FNAF 3. I think there's a huge possibility that where they might replace some of the storyline where they try to put 5 kids' soul to rest, because they already went to heaven in this movie, so like, oh, that's already resolved. So I think the next one is just gonna be focusing much more on Charlotte. And there's also, I don't know, I'm wondering what they're going to do with the Phantom animatronics, because the Phantom animatronics appears in FNAF 3, but I don't really know how they're going to do that. Are they going to be like an actual practical thing, or they're gonna use CGI, because like Phantom are ghosts, right? So there's that. I'm really, really wondering what they're going to do with the Phantom animatronics, because I generally have no ideas, Maybe they're going to expand the lore again, where it was revealed that William Afton has many more victims that's still not put to rest. Maybe that's what they're going to do. And I think Charlotte is gonna play a role also in the FNAF 3, where either it's gonna be her like try to kill Mike or try to kill the adults, because that's what she was obsessed with, or Or maybe William Afton will control the puppet in some way, because he's growing much more stronger, supposedly in the third movie. So I don't know. Um, but yeah, it's definitely interesting that they're already setting up. The way they set up FNAF 3 is, I think, is quite exciting. There's even a mid-credit scenes, where we see three guys. They was like building their own, horror attraction, which is like obviously Fazbear Fright, and they found, like they found one, a real one, and it was the exact same line from Phone Dude in FNAF 3, which is awesome in my opinion. And we see Springtrap, basically activated in the last scene of the movie, which that's exciting. Finally we get to see full William Afton in FNAF 3, because so far we only get like one scene with William Afton every single movie. Like the first movie has two scenes with William Afton, and the second one only has one. But in the third movie, I am excited to see the full-on Afton family like history maybe. And speaking of the history, Henry, Skeetulrich's character, also has like a recording in the post-credit scene of the movie where he recorded a message to Mike where warning him about Charlotte, and obviously telling the truth that Henry was actually partner with William Afton, which is kind of like what happens in the game. And I gotta say, I feel bad for Mike, because like you got Vanessa lying to him, and then now Henry is also lying to him. Like, man, everybody's friend is just like a liars to Mike, which is, I kind of feel bad, to be honest. But that's interesting, that they're still acknowledging the plot that Henry and William Afton are partners there. So obviously Henry feeling guilty for losing his own daughter, but in the post-credit scene, it was revealed that Charlotte, the puppet, assumably because she possesses Vanessa in the last scene of this movie. I'm assuming that as Vanessa, she found her dad, and then she decided to kill Henry because it sounds like he was dying in the post-credit scene. Which I'm hoping that's not the case. Because that would be disappointing to just like kill Skeetulrich's character just like that. Because like again, I wanted to see Matthew Lillard and Skeetulrich share a screen time. Like come on, man. Like these two are from Scream movies. So I kind of want them to share some screen time. Especially they were supposed to be partners. I guess they could be a flashback, sure. But I think it's kind of disappointing that if they just kill Henry just like that in the post-credit scenes, which I think that might be the case. So yeah, I don't know about that, man. But either way, I do think FNAF 3 is gonna be much more exciting in my opinion, especially now we get to see a much more personal storyline. Mike and Vanessa's relationship are much more strained this time around. He no longer trusts Vanessa, and Vanessa is being possessed by the puppet, which is like, okay, that's okay. We'll see where that's gonna go. And I'm also curious to see how they're going to handle the Phantom animatronics. Are they going to bring more dead kids into the storyline, and then we finally get to see some similar storytelling from the FNAF 3 mini games, which is like a possibility. And I think I just wanted to see more clarity with Michael Afton's character, because his characters in this movie are kind of confusing and also lack motivation. It kind of feels like, oh, I'm evil just for the sake of it, so I think that there should be a way for Scott Cawthon to improve the characterization of Michael Afton in FNAF 3, showcasing the relationship between Michael and William. Are they actually a good father and son relationship, or William Afton actually like trying to disown Michael in a way, and then maybe this is the way for Michael try to get back to the family. I have no idea. But there is definitely something to be explored in the third movie, and I think the third movie is gonna be much more personal and much more story driven in my opinion. But either way, guys, that's my spoiler review and my FNAF 3 prediction, for FNAF 3. I guess we'll see what happens for the third movie. I'm assuming it's gonna be released on 2027, which is exciting, which is gonna be the conclusion of this trilogy. But FNAF 2 overall, again, is a really fun movie. I really enjoyed that, despite the fact that there's some plot holes in this movie, the more you think about it, and I've seen that. I think I'm going to predict that I think most of the reviewers are still going to find the movie to be mixed to negative, I think the positive reviewers is going to be the hardcore Five Nights at Freddy's fans, because obviously, but I think the general audience is going to be still a bit disappointed with this movie. I think they're going to say there's a bit more improvement over the movie, but I don't think it's much improvement for them, so I don't know. We'll see about that. Either way, guys, let me know, guys, in the comment section below what do you guys think about the FNAF 2 ending, what do you guys think about the, Michael Afton's character? Do you guys think Michael Afton and the puppet are actually working together? Because that part is kind of confusing in my opinion. And also, what do you guys think about the opening scene of the movie, What do you guys think about the cop just like doesn't even mention or like investigating the fact that Charlotte is being stabbed 3 times. That's kind of weird for me. And what is your prediction for FNAF 3? Let me know all your opinions in the comment section below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure you guys bite the subscribe and like button, share the videos to usual stuff, and stay tuned for more reviews in the future, or more reaction videos maybe in the future. And again, thank you for everybody who are watching my previous FNAF 2 review. I really appreciate that. Thank you for subscribing. But either way, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this spoiler review, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye!